we experience time moving in one direction. Cause precedes effect. But what if data from decades of laboratory research suggests causality can flow backwards? In his introductory course on parapsychology, instructor Mark Bacuzzi brings these disparate research threads together to examine the field's final, wrap-up considerations. Like any academic discipline, this field relies on rigorous administrative processes, from peer review cycles to course evaluations, and academic gatherings like the SSCPA and ARVA conferences to continually refine its methodologies. Historically, researchers have divided anomalous phenomena into two main branches: extrasensory perception, the ability to gather hidden information, and psychokinesis, the ability to influence physical matter. Laboratory research is typically broken down into four categories: telepathy, clairvoyance, macro-PK, and micro-PK. But an ongoing debate asks a deeper question. Could these all simply be different expressions of a single underlying mechanism, precognition? This unification theory suggests that instead of exercising multiple mental powers, subjects are accessing information that flows from the future into the present. To see how this works, we can look at controlled remote viewing, a free response experiment where a viewer attempts to describe a distant, hidden target image. This diagram maps the standard flow. The viewer records impressions, then judges rank them. But the critical data point is the feedback phase, when judges reveal the target. This loophole means the viewer simply accesses their future memory of the reveal. Because of this feedback loop, the data cannot reliably differentiate true clairvoyance from a precognitive event, where the subject simply sees their own future. What researchers assume is a mechanism for sensing across distances may actually be a mechanism for sensing across time. This exact same temporal loophole appears in psychokinesis research, specifically in micro-PK experiments, where participants attempt to mentally influence electronic systems. We test this using hardware like the True RNG3, a device that generates a continuous stream of random binary data based on unpredictable quantum noise. The classical expectation is that a participant presses a button and uses mental effort to force the machine to alter its probability, outputting more ones than zeros. Decision augmentation theory offers a radically different explanation. It suggests the machine's probability is never altered. Instead, the participant uses precognition to subconsciously anticipate the random output, tiny mere button press to capture a pre-existing sequence heavily weighted with ones. Within this framework, the mind functions as a sensor, identifying and acting upon specific moments where the desired outcome is already occurring. Decision augmentation theory provides a data-driven model that replaces mind over matter with mind over timing. This precognitive model works for subtle data anomalies, but hits a hard boundary with macro-PK. You cannot use future timing to explain a bending spoon. To navigate these diverse effects, researchers isolate specific psychological and personality traits that correlate with high performance in the lab. Looking at the data, successful participants consistently score high in openness and extroversion and low in neuroticism on standard Big Five personality models. We also see an ambiguous but highly persistent link between artistic populations and elevated test scores. Foundational studies by researchers like Marilyn Schlitz, Charles Honorton, and Kathy Dalton revealed striking hit rates during telepathy trials, reaching 40% for dramatic artists and jumping to 75% for musicians. Generating these consistent results requires sensitivity, a high tolerance for ambiguity, and a deep connection to the subconscious. Because these psychological correlates yield relatively small effect sizes in individual studies, the field relies heavily on aggregating data through meta-analyses to demonstrate statistical significance. As highlighted in the structural disadvantages here, this approach carries inherent vulnerabilities. The most prominent is the file drawer problem, where negative or inconclusive results go unpublished, potentially skewing the aggregated data toward false positives. These vulnerabilities have been heavily targeted by organized pseudo-skeptic movements, most notably James Randi's $1 Million Challenge, which actively worked to discredit parapsychological research in the public eye. But the core friction isn't strictly methodological. Anomalous data is frequently rejected out of hand because the required mechanisms, like retrocausality, cannot exist within an entrenched materialist framework. The field faces a unique roadblock. It produces statistically valid data, but the implications are philosophically rejected by the dominant materialist framework. This gridlock leads to a common, pragmatic critique. If these nonlinear perceptions are real, why aren't researchers reliably predicting the stock market or locating missing resources? There is an ongoing effort to find a killer app for the field, a reliable commercial application in health, archaeology, or intelligence gathering that would definitively legitimize the research and secure continuous funding. But treating human consciousness strictly as a utilitarian tool misses the point. The ultimate value of this research might be the worldview it demands. Recognizing that consciousness operates non-locally changes how we view ourselves. Direct experience with these phenomena consistently leads to a reduction in the fear of death and a measurable increase in human compassion, revealing our deeply interconnected nature. The impact of parapsychology stems from this complete reevaluation of the human mind's relationship to time, space, and reality.